Good morning. It is now 11:05 a.m. Calling the roll for the Monday, July 2nd Board of Control. Nan Baker. Dale Miller. Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Dan Brady. Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Mike Dever. Armin Budish.
Here.
Dennis Kennedy. Lenora Lockett. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Minutes from June 25th. Any corrections? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, no tabled items. Let's get started.
Thank you. First item BC 2018-412, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 42449 and enter into a contract with Cook Paving and Construction in the amount not to exceed $389,424.20 for resurfacing of Barrett Road from Lewis Road to Spafford Road in the Olmsted Township.
Mike Chambers of Public Works asking for your approval of this item. There was 8 bids taken out from OPD. 3 bids were returned and evaluated, and we went with the lowest and best bidder, which was Cook. The engineer's estimate was $412,625, so this did come in, significantly under that engineer's estimate.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item BC 2018-413, Department of Public Works submitting a construction agreement with Norfolk Southern Railway Company in the estimated amount of $425,000 for construction of the Towpath Trail Stage 1 project from Harvard Avenue Trailhead to Steelyard Commons in the city of Cleveland and village of Cuyahoga Heights.
Here's again with Public Works, asking for approval of this item. Anytime you're dealing with the railroads, you've got to follow their rules. So this is a not to exceed $425,000, and this is for the construction agreement for the project. And if it comes in under, then certainly we won't utilize those funds.
Any questions? Thank you. Move to approve. Is there a second? Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item BC 2018-414, Department of Public Works, submitting a preliminary engineering agreement with Norfolk Southern Railway Company in the estimated amount of $20,194 for the replacement of Jefferson Avenue Bridge number 0057 over Norfolk Southern Railway in the city of Cleveland.
Mike Chambers again, and once again, this one here is for the preliminary. The last one was for the actual construction. So this is to go out and do our field work. Eventually then, if we need to, we'll come back with another construction agreement with them. This is road and bridge, whereas the last one did have some federal funding. Once again, not all projects can get federal funding. This is usually for construction. And so therefore, this one's 100% road and bridge.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Miller.
Does the railroad put in any money on this?
No.
Does it affect their operations at all? Does it improve their facilities, or is it basically for our benefit?
We own the bridge, we own the structure. They're benefiting us, so we're inconveniencing them, which we pay dearly for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I would just comment that I know from personal experience how difficult the railroads are to work with, and I give you credit for what you have to do to get these things done. I'm well aware of it.
Okay.
Councilman, any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
The 2018-415, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 43037 to Ohio CAT in the amount not to exceed $100,000 for rental of a backup generator to be used at the Justice Center Jail 1 for the period July 1st, 2018 through October 31st, 2018.
Good morning. Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This request is to support a standby generator that will support our court tower and jail 1 operations in the event of a power outage. Currently, our permanently installed generator has has problems. We're working on a separate TAC to make those repairs, but this item will provide a appropriately sized generator to back that up until we have those repairs complete.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2018-416, Department of Public Works, recommending a sole source award on requisition 42943 to Event Metal Detectors LLC in the amount not to exceed $29,500 for removal, relocation, and reinstallation of 2 Safe View body scanners from the Marion Building to the Cuyahoga County Justice Center.
Good morning again, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This item is in support of the build-out of the Cleveland Police Headquarters project, specifically for the relocation of the probation department. These are the 2 body scanners that are currently located that scan probation clients going into the Marion Building. They need to be relocated to the Ontario Street entrance of the Justice Center to support the probation department relocation. They require L3 licensed technicians, for which this provider is a sole source vendor and submitted a sole source affidavit.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, BC 2018-417, has been withdrawn at the request of the County Council for consideration at the July 10th council meeting.
Mr. President. I had a role in making that request and just wanted to share what my thinking is. The administration has put forward a strategy which I strongly support around the creation of a permanent revolving economic development loan fund, which when completed would require little or no general fund support. But in order to accomplish this, there would have to be very few, if any, forgivable loans. And this one here is the second one that I've seen relatively recently. And so I don't know anything about this particular project per se, but I think particularly in light of that we have to find $25 million a year or so in structural reductions because of the Medicaid sales tax situation. I think it's very important that we get very clear on exactly what the policy is going forward around the forgivable loans, and doing it at this time with this project also enables us to do it in conjunction with the 5-year economic development plan, which is currently in committee and under consideration. So I just want to work with the administration and make sure that we have a very clear policy going forward as to whether the Sustainable Economic Development Fund is still the strategy, and if so, how we're going to achieve it and what our policy on forgivable loans is going to be going forward. Thank you.
Sure. I can tell you the policy is the same, but it's the art of the deal, and we're all about jobs. So I personally strongly feel, and I believe economic development strongly feels, that in every case that's possible, we should do a loan and not a grant. However, ours are always last dollars, and if there comes an exception where in order to make a deal we have to do a hopefully relatively small forgivable loan, that economic development is allowed to consider that and has made these recommendations. So the policy is the same, but as with many policies, there can be and should be periodic exceptions where it's absolutely necessary.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Next item, item BC 2018-418, Department of Development, recommending awards and enter into agreements with various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $3,351,000 for demolition of vacant, abandoned, nuisance, or blighted structures in connection with Round 8 of the Cuyahoga County Property Demolition Program. And it's for the period June 15th, 2018 through December 15th, 2019. A, the City of Cleveland in the amount of $2 million, and B, making a correction, it should be the City of Parma in the amount not to exceed $1,351,000.
Good morning, Ken Surratt from the Department of Development. The item A, the City of Cleveland, will be their 6th award for a total of $2 million to tear down 199 residential structures. In the case of Parma, this will be their 3rd award, and the majority of this money is $1.3 million of it is to facilitate the removal of 13 residential dormitory structures that were on the former Parmadale site in Parma. The intended use of this space will be green space. It's been working with the Metro Parks as well as the Watershed Conservancy in order to create actually a almost 80-acre park in the city of Parma.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
Councilman Miller.
Presuming approval of this item, how much in total will we have authorized toward our $50 million plan on the demolition fund?
I had a feeling that question would be answered or asked. We've made, and I'm going to say net awards because I'm saying awards less any decertified contracts to date, assuming these two, $33.3 million.
And how much more in requests are we expecting to come in 2018, and do we have sufficient funds available to cover them?
I was expecting that
I'm
question
not
as well.
Hard questions.
So we have requesting for another $4.6 million from various communities, as well as we have the outstanding $3 million, the last $3 million payment for the land bank, so a total of $7.6 million. That said, I also expect to decertify somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000 to $700,000 of contracts that have expired or will have expired by the end of the year.
So that's a net of $6.5 million plus or something.
Correct. So I think we'll end up just over $40 million in net awards at the end of the year.
And do we have sufficient appropriation authority for this year's expenditures?
And we are, I believe, is 40 million is that amount, and
So
I see
right
Mr. Mack.
about there.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. Good to know. Thanks a lot.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item BC 2018-419, Department of Information Technology, recommending an award on requisition 40914 and enter into a contract with T4S Partners, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for Sharewell integration and development services for the Sharewell cloud-based service desk software application. And it's for the period July 2nd, 2018 through July 1st, 2021.
Good morning, board members. Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This is for the help desk application. Sharewell is the software that supports that platform, and T4S is going to be the integrators. And primarily, this first step, they're going to work on the help desk tracking and the service ticket proficiency. And again, this award was all based off of an RFQ that was processed.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
How many bids were received on?
I don't have, Dale, I don't have the RFQ information readily. I don't want to give you bad information, but I can get it to you.
Okay. Do you know if there was in fact competition as opposed to a single respondent?
Again, I believe there was, but I don't want to definitively tell you that.
Okay, fine.
Lenora Lenore Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. This was the result of an RFQ that closed November 22nd, 2017. 4 proposals were received.
Thank you. I know the exact number, but I'm sure it was over one.
That raises one follow-up question, which is that if it closed on November of 2017, why did it take it so much time to get to this point here in July?
I could venture a guess, but I don't know a definitive answer. I could guess it was between the two legals, and I hate to throw it at legal, but it seems that sometimes that's where it gets to in language.
Okay.
I can find out. I can follow up for you.
Nevertheless, we are in time for the intended contract.
What's that?
We are in time for the intended start date.
Yeah. It was adjustable. Started effective this meeting. If so approved.
Councilwoman Baker.
Yes, I had a question about the ERP, and the answer back was that it's not related. Can
Correct.
you just explain the difference between what you're doing, especially in the backup detail when it says expand the framework, expand to incorporate additional functionality, but not limited to workflow, dashboards, map integration, services for a series of individual objectives with its own statement of work? How does that not be part of what ERP is doing and the efficiencies of what we're doing across the county?
And the answer I have is this is the service does the help desk software application,
Okay.
which is different than the ERP and everything it's going to touch in its nature. So if there was no ERP project going on at all,
Right.
this would have still been something we'd have done with this. They can stand independent of each other. One's not driving the other.
One's not driving the other. Okay. Thank you.
Further questions? Mr. McAleer.
Just as follow-up to that question, do you know if the N4 product can do what this is doing? Have we looked at that?
I don't know that definitively.
Because it's similar, I mean, just in sense of service tickets and stuff, similar to what Public Works is using it for various tasks with sanitary and stuff like that. I was just curious if that's something that the new ERP could do.
You mean like the asset management piece and the tracking that
Stuff like that.
they have
yeah.
done? I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know if it can do help desk-wise.
Yeah.
This has the normal 30-day out, I assume. Okay.
Yes.
Just that maybe we ask to see if ERP has
Absolutely.
a place or Infor, just to make sure that we aren't duplicating what we may already be paying for. Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Moved by Mr. Kennedy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2018-420, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with Service Express, Inc. for server maintenance services countywide for the period March 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2018, to extend the time period to September 30th, 2018, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $27,933.
Again, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This is an amendment request to take it out to September 30th. One of the driving issues with the timing of this is that it has been decided to change procurement course, and it's gonna be done via reverse auction within by speed.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes. Is this 3-month extension, is this ERP related?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, we would, again, this is a standalone effort. This is hardware maintenance for the server environment we have. We would need this regardless of anything else we were doing countywide.
Right.
Further questions? Mr. McAleer.
And I just want to confirm, you said we're going to use by speed now to do the reverse auction?
This is going forward as a reverse auction item within by speed.
So,
Mr. Councilman Miller.
so is the extension just to buy us some time, and the reverse auction is going to be for a longer length of time? Okay.
Further questions?
The hopeful award is going to be for a longer time, yes.
Okay.
Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-421, Department of Information Technology, recommending a sole source award on requisition 42832 to EP Technology, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $2,955 for the purchase of printer supplies for the Microplex HD60 and HD90 printers.
Dennis Sullivan again with the Department of IT. This department order is driven by a sole source for the equipment that we have down on Lakeside, the printers. And this primarily is for toner and for lamp bulbs. And the sole source nature is it's proprietary in that it has to be purchased through regional authorized distributors.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. McAleer.
Dennis, we received the affidavit, the sole source affidavit. Okay. Mr. Chair, I would just
Janelle
ask,
produced that.
moving forward, that when the sole source items come up, that just if we can confirm with OPD that we actually received the affidavit, because it's my understanding on maybe a couple of previous sole source items, we haven't yet received the affidavit.
Could that be noted on the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you. That's a good point. Any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-422, Fiscal Office, recommending to amend Board Approval Number BC 2018-394, dated, and it should reflect June 25th instead of July 25th, 2018, which authorized an amendment to a contract with Stiefel, Nicholas and Company Incorporated for financial advisory services for the period August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2018, to extend the time period to July 31st, 2019, and for additional funds by changing the amount not to exceed from $90,000 to $60,000.
Dennis Kennedy on behalf of the Fiscal Office. This contract is with our current financial advisor, Stiefel. Mr. Bob Franz, I believe, is here in case anybody has any questions. The net result of this proposed amendment would be to lower the second half annual cost of this year, the first year of the contract, and then to extend that contract at a lower rate through next July 31st.
Thank you. And just by way of clarification, this is the same item. It's not any different, but I think that the explanation, in part muddled by me, was not altogether clear, and I never want anybody to be confused when we're voting on something. So this clarifies that the backup has a little table that specifies exactly how it works. It is a better contract for us than we had last time. Is there any question? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2018-423, Fiscal Office, recommending an award on requisition 42880 and enter into an agreement with Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office in the amount not to exceed $9,600 for staffing of 2 interns in connection with the collection of delinquent real property taxes. And it's for the period May 21st, 2018 through August 10th, 2018.
This is Dennis Kennedy again with the Fiscal Office. This relates to a project that we undertook starting in February of this year in conjunction with the county prosecutor. We've moved Michael Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney is here in case anybody has any questions. It's kind of attached itself as the Fishbowl Project, the reinstitution of the Fishbowl Project. I had some discussions with the county prosecutor's office at the beginning of May, and saying because of the success of the project so far, they wanted to keep it going, keep the momentum going, and they wanted to support it with hiring of 2 interns. They asked me if we had money in our budget to assist with that. We did wait until we got our projections through OBM and confirmed that we could afford it. And it was submitted, even though it's running late, it was submitted on time before that, but had to go through a little review process. Mr. Sweeney's here, but for everybody's general edification, we've collected about $2.6 million, is that right? $3 million? Make it 4? $3 million so far. The project has been extremely successful, and we have no reason to believe that that success rate would not continue. And just so everyone knows, it's been well discussed throughout the county, particularly with the county mayors, and in those cities that have considerable delinquencies, and we've got nothing but great feedback for that. So I would urge my colleagues here to approve this contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilman Miller.
What is the fishbowl project and how does it work?
Michael, Mr. Sweeney could probably explain a little more, just in a nutshell. In the prior county government and the old administration building, I wasn't here, but I guess there was a glass room that contained folks that work for the treasurer's office that were specifically dedicated towards collecting delinquencies. It was viewed to be very successful. We discussed it in lieu of the collection agency contracts we had authorized previously, and the county prosecutor was adamant that he thought this could be successful to undertake again. So we agreed to a joint project. Michael is over there, and he can probably give you a little more detail.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Councilman Miller, the Fishbowl Project, as it's known, is basically the county's effort to reach out, speak with delinquent taxpayers, and assist them in the collection of the real estate taxes. This is something that was generated back in the old county administration building. If you recall the old county administration building, when you walked in the front lobby from the Justice Center, to your left or the north side of the building was a large glass office. That is where 25 county employees worked on the collection of real estate taxes from the beginning of a delinquency, which is the publication by the fiscal office, the first time that taxpayers are delinquent, all the way through the foreclosure process. With the reconstitution of the fishbowl, since February 1st, we have initiated a number of outreach projects. We have sent out thousands of letters. The first letter here is from the Cuyahoga County Treasurer, Christopher Murray, reaching out to taxpayers who just became delinquent last year in the advertisement. The response has been very good. Also, we reconstituted a county prosecutor letter with Mr. O'Malley's office signature or logo on Mr. Kenny. Michael Kenny is the signer of this. When taxpayers, for whatever reason, haven't paid their taxes and they are now been requested by the treasurer to initiate foreclosure proceedings by the prosecutor's office, we are actually mailing out to those taxpayers and saying, please contact us. We're here to help you. That letter has received a very strong response. Matter of fact, a taxpayer received this letter just last week, which gives you 30 days to respond. I have a check for $2,500 that came back. The delinquency was $2,474. The delinquency is resolved with one letter. As I had the pleasure of coming over here this morning, our two interns, Kat and Brianna, were actually generating about 144 more prosecutor letters. In addition to those two county initiatives, we've worked with our colleagues in the First Suburbs Consortium, 18 of our suburb communities. We have been working with them. They are actually sending out outreach letters, collection notices to their citizens or their residents that we've been working with. We've sent thousands of these letters, and the response has been very strong. This is the reconstitution of the, as we call it, the Delinquent Tax Research Department, or the Fishbowl. We're hoping that we continue to put this more into play as we serve and help the citizens of Cuyahoga County, and also enhance our collection efforts. And as of Friday, Mr. Kennedy, it was conveyed to me by our colleagues in the prosecutor's office that we exceeded a $3 million mark in collections efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. One follow-up question. Am I right that for people who don't respond to the fishbowl, are we still using the collection agencies, or is this going to replace the collection agency?
Councilman Miller, I'm not able to speak to that.
Councilman, I believe the collection contracts expire at the beginning of August. It's not been determined, or the prosecutor hasn't yet rendered any kind of opinion on his propensity to extend those. I believe that the current plan now is to just funnel those through the prosecutor's office through the regular process.
Okay.
Yes, Councilwoman Baker.
Just curious, it's great, we collected the 3 million. How much is outstanding?
A substantial amount of money, Councilwoman.
Just a follow-up, how much do we anticipate is collectible? We have the 3 million, are we anticipating, I mean, I guess that's why we would outsource it for those.
Right.
That,
That's a great question. One of the, I think, parts of the fishbowl is to dig into this and also explain our delinquency and the efforts that we have been doing and try to have a true picture of what's truly collectible.
Right.
Because if you do look at some agencies or some reports, it'll say that Cuyahoga County has hundreds of millions of dollars in delinquent taxes. That is not inaccurate, but it doesn't tell the whole story.
Right.
We have, and we talk about this all the time, we have our prosecutor's office. They have thousands of parcels that are actively in foreclosure, working to collect on those dollars. The Cuyahoga County Treasurer's Office, I believe, has around 5,000 taxpayers helping them on payment plans. Those payment plans could be 6 months up to 60 months. So if we're taking a small portion of that every month, which is great, we're helping people stay in their homes and keeping their businesses, but that is a large amount of the delinquency. We have parcels that range, well, maybe a little bit over 100 or so that are in the exemption process. Those parcels alone probably are over $100 million on our books. What we're trying to do is to dig into that and have a better picture of what's truly collectible. And that's what we're doing in the fishbowl, trying to initiate those types of research initiatives. Because actually, we had a conversation last week, we were just doing a pie chart saying this, 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 and this. And what we're hoping to do is in the fishbowl or delinquent tax collection department is reach out and touch base with everybody. An example, our interns, they were trained how to look into our MVP system. They're also trained on the proper protocol to speak with our customers, which is critical. We were reaching out to the senior citizens. One of the first days, and they're going on the internet, locating phone numbers and contacting our senior citizens. We thought that would be a better approach than possibly receiving, because they're delinquent or taxing, a prosecutor letter. That might be not the best approach. One of the first days, Brianna called a senior citizen. Person was not aware that she was delinquent. Don't know what happened with the situation. A spouse may no longer be with us, or something along those lines. Upon that call, that afternoon, she was in the treasurer's office entering in a payment plan that she can afford. And Councilwoman, what we're trying to do with every parcel that's delinquent is try to reach out to them, whether it's by phone, whether it's by letter. There's been some discussion about maybe going out to community events. We have received requests to be at city halls for outreach, because some people may not want to come down. Some people may be inclined not to pick up the phone. All we're trying to do is have them talk to us, because we have a great group down in the treasurer's office and the prosecutor's office, and we're just trying to assist our residents in Cuyahoga County and also increase our tax collections.
may I just ask, I understand all that, and I know this is a moving target, it changes every day, and you have progress and you don't have progress, but it's a living document. But are there times when you take a snapshot?
Yes.
Of exactly, where you're at, so that you can see,
Yes.
Your progress or lack of it, or great success?
Yes, Councilwoman, the best time, in my opinion, is to take that snapshot is once our tax collection closes, which will be Thursday, July 12th. That is when all the current payments will be processed by the Treasury. We will know exactly who will be certified by the fiscal office once we close our collection. From that point, we will know the number of parcels. We will know the actual delinquent dollar amount, which will skyrocket on August 1st because there's an 8% interest charge applied to a vast majority of the delinquency, but we will then be able to capture that. I also have some thoughts, and I'd like to speak with Mr. Kennedy at some point in the future about working with our homestead senior citizens as well, in addition to everybody else.
Outside of just the one snapshot, do we take periodic snapshots to see the progress that's being made?
Councilwoman, when we continue to move forward, we've been at this for 5 months. Yes, we plan on doing that. We were just speaking a week or two ago that in the past, we would generate an annual report.
Okay.
I actually unearthed some of those just recently to look at from 1991 all the way up to 2010. And we plan on doing that because that's the only way we can gauge what we're doing.
Good, thank you. Good, thank
Thank
you for
you.
your work.
Councilman Miller.
Just a comment that I get periodic calls from constituents grumbling about taxes and asking why we're not doing more to collect the taxes that are owed. And so it sounds like you've gone back to some processes that have worked well in the past, and I'm just happy to see that you have a comprehensive program, and it sounds like it's working, and I appreciate the effort being made.
There's a lot of effort being made. We initially went to the outside collection firm to get things started quickly, and since then we've been working with our fiscal office, our treasurer's office, and the prosecutor's office, and I think we're making a lot of progress, actually. I'm very pleased with it. And I want to take the moment to thank Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Murray and Mr. Sweeney and Mr. O'Malley, all working together to make this happen.
Mr. Peters, may I say one other item, please? Councilman, to your point, once again, the prosecutor letter was sent out. We received a check in FedEx overnight for almost $15,000 to pay off the entire delinquency. In addition to the money, the nicest thing is the payment came in here, and on the back it said, "Thank you." From our county perspective, I think that's what we're supposed to do. One other item I have, this is a young lady we've been working with in Euclid. She was concerned that she was going to lose her home. She's a single mom trying to put her child into private school, grade school. She received a prosecutor letter, and she was concerned, as I said, to lose her home, et cetera, et cetera. She has sent us a very nice thank you, and also here's her payment schedule. She owes $144. She sent a check for $2,350 last week. The month before was $2,500. The month before was $1,000. $425 was that first $1,000 was paid to the prosecutor's office to take care of their cost. And I have a call into her today to see if we can get this squared away. She's going to pay her delinquent taxes. Once the collection closes, we're going to get her on a payment plan that she can afford for her current taxes. They'll just fall delinquent. So that's just another example of what we're trying to do.
Okay. Any further questions? Mr. McAleer.
Just one quick question. I think you said under the commissioners there were about 25 employees dedicated to the fishbowl project.
Back in its heyday, yes, sir.
How many staff do you have now that are working on this?
I have the pleasure of County Prosecutor's full-time staff member, Wendy Littoral. She and I are the two full-time people, and we also have the pleasure of our two interns from Cleveland State who are studying in criminology. They started in the prosecutors as non-paid interns. With the success of what we're doing, that is why we're here today, to have them here for the summer. They are calling people. They're sending out prosecutor letters. They are helping with emails. They're doing research. We've asked them to call all the largest counties in Cuyahoga County to see what kind of best practices are out there, what kind of collection letters they have, what kind of prosecutors' letters, and I want them to do it. I want them to learn. I want them to be part of this. I also want them, as we continue to move forward, possibly come to some of these meetings. They're actually, in August, we're going to a border revision delinquent tax foreclosure meeting with Wendy, because that's what the prosecutor's office does. They should see that process as we talk about it. So, Trevor, that is the contents of the fishbowl right now.
I just believe there's a significant advantage of doing this path versus the collection agency. You know, you don't get the fines and interest that you do with a collection agency taking this approach first. So,
and Trevor, to that point, with the reconstitution of this delinquent tax research department or fishbowl, I don't say we have our hands on all the levers, but we know the whole process. We know exactly the timing. The prosecutor letter, I believe, has been All the letters have been very strong, but that prosecutor letter with the county reaching out saying, please come and talk to us within 30 days. Because if they do not, the first step in an active foreclosure proceeding, the prosecutor's office orders something called a preliminary judicial report, commonly known as a title report. That's $425. Within that 30 days, if they contact us and get on a payment plan, they can use those $425 to get on a payment plan, rather than getting on that same payment plan and pay all the $425 plus their first payment. People appreciate that reaching out, and if they're able to get on a payment plan, they're going to do their best to do that if they're eligible for a plan.
Hey, Trevor, Mr. Executive, we plan to periodically take a look at things and probably staff up a little more in conjunction with the prosecutor's office because of the success that we've had in the 5 months we've been running.
One question. We had talked about the general fund versus any other source. Was there no way to pay this out of any of our real estate fund or funds?
I had looked at this originally. We had found money in our budget because we hadn't hired a couple of people. So it was just proposed to come out, for the time being, to come out of the fiscal office budget.
Are we still looking, I mean, are we still considering whether it can come out of?
Yeah, we're going to look at that, particularly with respect to future expansions. But for the time being, in order to get this through, we're just going to charge it to the fiscal office budget.
Anything else? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-424, Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, submitting an amendment to a contract with Millennium Investor Group V, LLC, for lease of space for the period August 1st, 2011 through July 31st, 2018, to extend the time period to July 31st, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $23,829.32.
I'm not sure I need that. I'm Mark Greenfield. I'm with the prosecutor's office. I'm here to ask this board to approve a one-year extension of the lease, and a lease for ICAC Internet Office of the prosecutor's office, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children. And we provide a service that is unique, is important, and we've been providing it roughly from that same location in Parma since 2008, under the current iteration of the lease since 2011. It has been a high-performing location. It is inconspicuous. It is retrofitted with a lot of technology that is germane to what that office does, essentially catching people as they did just a couple weeks ago. Operation Memorial Day, 22 people caught in a sting, attempting to when they were arrested when they approached a house somewhere on the west side, I believe, thinking they were going to be having sex with underage teenagers. It was originally a 5-year, it is a 2-year lease that extended through July 31st, 2018. There are 3 one-year options at a 2% increase in rent. This is the first increase in rent, I believe, since 2011. Notwithstanding that ICAC likes the location a lot, but they wanted some flexibility, which is why they didn't do a 5-year lease and did 3 one-year options. There are 2 more, perhaps obviously, that follow from 19 to 20 and 20 to 21. The funding for the unit comes from 2 sources. The federal government underwrites the cost of the salaries of the employees. However, the general fund will be the source of the rent payment. The rent payment is $23,829.32. And I ask that this Board of Control approve the extension.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, one question, Councilwoman Baker.
Okay, so we are going with 3 one-year options, so we have the ability to leave if we need to. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay, so it's really a protection on our part to have the ability to leave, not so much to lock in a longer term.
Correct.
I guess my question is, if I read the detail correctly, we have some modifications that we've done. How extensive was that? Was there a lot invested in that property?
Yes, I'm unable to give you a dollar figure. However, I can tell you that there were technological upgrades, which included special servers that speak to the kind of work that the prosecutor's office unit does there. There was an overhead door. I mean, this is in a shopping center. So it doesn't say ICAC on the front, of course. And there is a specialized van that is essentially a rolling unit that is able to literally drive into the space because they have overhead doors retrofitted in the back. In addition to the modifications made for technological upgrades, including the servers and specialized workstations. So yes, the answer is yes.
So if we were to make the decision not to renew for the next one-year option, we would be leaving behind a considerable amount of modifications that were made to this space?
Yes, and to be clear, if we weren't leaving them behind, if there was some way to salvage some of them, it would still be the expense of retrofitting them into another unit. So it would be an additional cost.
Right. Do you have any dollar figure as to what we've invested?
I don't, more than $10,000. It might be, I got that figure a couple of years ago, but I know there have been some additional grades then.
So 10 to 25,000, you don't think it exceeds more than 25?
I don't have knowledge that exceeds more than 25,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
By Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item. Item BC 2018-425, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 42550, which will result in an award recommendation to FFT LLC in the amount not to exceed $84,000 for functional family therapy training and licensure. And it's for the period July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Karen Lippman with Juvenile Court. This is a contract, RPN exemption and contract that the court would like to enter into with FFT LLC. FFT, or Functional Family Therapy, is a in-home family therapy module that we contract with one of our community-based vendors to provide. This is for sort of training and some travel over the 3-year period for the staff that do perform the actual FFT, the therapy in the home with the family. This therapy is provided for families and youth that are on probation.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2018-426, Sheriff's Department, submitting amendments to agreement number AG 15,070 with the Metro Health System for Management, Healthcare, and Related Services at the Cuyahoga County Correction Center, and it's for the period January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2019, to expand the scope of services effective July 1st, 2018, and for additional funds. A, to provide health care and related services at the Bedford Heights Jail, and B, to manage and operate health care and related services at the Bedford Heights Jail, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $339,219.45.
Good morning, Donna Cleo, Sheriff's Fiscal Manager, requesting approval to, for these two amendments, which will basically put the Bedford Heights Jail underneath the umbrella of the contract with Metro Health, and it will also, any other facilities that the Sheriff's Department or the county may take over jail facilities, that will also be included in these amendments.
Thank you. Are there questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-427, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, on behalf of the Office of Homeless Services, recommending an award on requisition 42508 and enter into a contract with Stella Maris, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $195,000 for temporary housing for homeless single adult males in Cuyahoga County with substance abuse issues. And it's for the period July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
Shari Weir, Office of Homeless Services. Stella Maris has been providing substance abuse services and shelter to homeless men, and this would continue that service.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to the exemptions.
Item number BC 2018-428, Department of Public Works, recommending an alternate procurement process which will result in an award recommendations to various providers as listed on the items detail section in the total amount not to exceed $496,500 for commercial building and supply purchases, and it's for the period July 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018.
Mike Chambers of Public Works, asking for approval of this item. This is the first step in many steps, but the bottom line is items over $500 need to be compliant with ORC 570541, which kind of requires a fiscal officer certificate. Public Works does many purchases in our 26 buildings and our 40 communities of items under $500 that we have routinely done via the voucher process. So what we're attempting to do now to be compliant more with the audit requirements is to identify our top vendors, our top users, and I committed to doing a 6 month between now and the end of the year utilizing this process, and in the interim, or in the meantime, we're going to go out and do a formal request for proposals to enter into larger contracts. I've openly said on many occasions that we don't know exactly what we're buying. Our system tracks the vendor and the amount. And this will help me in the future, eventually, with the ERP. Part of my projected savings is to identify eventually then those key items that we're buying a lot of, and then go out and get better pricing in the future. So this is kind of the first step in many steps. So we're asking for your approval. And once again, this covers everything. I'm sorry, there was a question about what's the building supplies that you think of it. Whatever can break in a building, this is where we usually run out and grab a quick fix that isn't currently under another type of a contract.
Any questions?
Yes.
Councilman Miller.
So can you just give some examples of what we would buy under this contract?
Yeah, I mean, for example, one of our biggest people that we utilize is Sutton Hardware. Sutton Hardware is nearby, and I mean they have any kind of building supplies. I mean, Tom, maybe I can reach out for an olive branch here, but a small electrical plug, a socket. It could be different types of ballasts. It could be hardware. You name it, it's there.
Tom Cabbage, Public Works. Just to add in to Mike's comment, like Sutton Hardware, we need nuts and bolts, maybe even some power tools, wrenches. But as Mike said, as we sit in this building, in this room, our facility guys, they can buy potentially anything in this building or anything in this room. Carpeting, the glue that holds the carpeting down, the wall paint, whether it could be stucco, drywall, light bulbs, speakers, ceiling tiles to drop down, electrical. Example like EPS Supply, that's a plumbing vendor. We do have plumbing vendors we deal with, but EPS is unique because they've got certain faucets that we use at some of our older buildings, like the courthouse and the old courthouse square. So it could be any type of building supply.
So, this item is recommending approval of an alternative procurement process. Can you explain what the procurement process is going to be?
Sure, the procurement process is that I'm identifying $496,000, and these are the vendors that I'm going to force our crews, men and women, to use till the end of the year until we can do a formal competitive process. So I've identified the users that we go to most often, which we normally would do under a voucher. I've evaluated all those users, and I've cut them off. Ideally, like, for example, with Home Depot, it's in many communities. So when you need something quick, we can go to the nearest Home Depot rather than, coming back down, or even if we don't have it in stock, we hit a Home Depot. But all of these vendors do offer us a discount. They give us wholesale pricing. But these are the ones we most often use, and in order to be compliant with the audit, the ORC, we're going to force our men and women to utilize these vendors so we can encumber the money up front. And then as we utilize them, we'll be able to draw down according to 570541.
And as Mike said, just throwing it, this is just the first step. I mean, this isn't, where you go to the river, flip over a stone, and find a crayfish. I mean, this is a long process that we're trying to be, best practice, improve on our strategies. This is the first step that we're hoping will get us through the end of the year. The next step will probably be coming to the board is a master approval of like an alternate procurement for master contracts. We intend on going out to do RFPs, many RFPs, that's going to entail all of these different building commodities, and it's part of our vendor consolidation project. But this is the first step to maintain that consistency.
If I
Mr.
could,
Kennedy.
to follow up on Mr. Chambers, these are basically considered to be blanket purchase orders. It's consistent with practice used in almost every municipality, and it's permissible by the revised code. The biggest benefit, particularly from a fiscal standpoint, is all the monies are encumbered up front, as opposed to getting paid on office vouchers throughout the year without any general set aside or segregation of appropriations. So this locks up the monies with those vendors.
So
they're using discounts. They're using discounted vendors instead of just going up to the local drugstore.
And this is a consolidation as well. I mean, I don't know how many vendors that we've vet, but I mean, this list, I think there's 29 vendors. This is already a consolidation. We're going to go back to our different business units, trades, road and bridge, sanitary, and tell them these are the vendors that you're expected to use, because we're coming to the board for this.
You'll see before you then the actual POs, purchase orders, or DOs that are going to be resulting, which will actually encumber the money. They'll come through on a separate item probably in the next couple of weeks on this agenda.
Any further questions? Councilwoman Baker.
If I'm understanding this, could this reduce our mission criticals? That we have resources that are there that perhaps if there's something that breaks or that comes through, that you can now go to perhaps a couple of these, Home Depot or
If I could.
Extra Supply or
it
whatever?
It could, but once again, I've identified the under 500 spends. So once again, I'm trying to, long-term solution, these master contracts, I'll be able to take, the $2 million and allocate it accordingly. Right now, I'm sticking to $495,000 to get me to the end of the year as an interim solution to get us compliant with the code. But in the future, you're 100% correct, yes.
In the future, it could cut down on the mission criticals because
as long as it's one of these vendors.
Right.
Right.
Is accessible. All right.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Yes.
Councilman Miller.
What is it about current procedure that's not code compliant?
Right now, you want to take a stab at it?
Well, the issue that we have right now is these monies are not encumbered. So what we want to do is identify specific areas of purchase of public works and encumber the money so that we're not paying those off office vouchers. We've limited the amount of an office voucher to $1,000. We've had some issues over the past year of things getting paid that weren't encumbered. So to prevent that from happening on a blanket perspective, we're agreeing to use these vendors in these amounts not to exceed, and we'll charge the expenses against those purchase orders.
So am I right that even an office voucher purchase for $1.50 is supposed to be encumbered before any expenditure is made?
Not necessarily, depends on the type of expense, but there are some incidental expenses that are exempt from the encumbrance process based on what the purpose is.
But generally, even
Generally, you want all your expenses to be encumbered, so that makes your budget reporting more accurate because it shows you not only what we spent, but what is still open and set aside for the remainder of the year, and that's what we're trying to get everybody to look at, the amount of available appropriation that isn't encumbered yet. It also gives us a better handle on our fund balances.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-429, Office of Procurement and Diversity, recommending an alternate procurement process to establish rules and procedures for reverse auction procurements, and it's for the period July 2nd, 2018 through July 31st, 2019, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 9.314.
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. The purpose of this item is to request approval for reverse auction procedures to be used during the indicated time period. This will set overarching general guidelines for reverse auctions for Cuyahoga County. Specifically, the auction will be done as an RFP with the pricing component done as a reverse auction. It will be overseen by the Office of Procurement and Diversity. There will be advertisement if desired, and also training will also be provided to any potential vendors. The RFP will detail the specifics for each item. Some of those specifics will be the actual pricing list, the items on that pricing list, and also the whether or not there's a performance bond that's going to be needed, and as detailed below how the opening bid price will be set. In particular, there's 3 types of opening bid pricing scenarios. The first preferred option is if we actually purchase that item in a similar quantity in the recent, say, a 5-year period, then we'll use that price as the opening bid price. If that price is not available, the second best option will be to look and see what pricing is available to the county on state contract, government cooperative, or GSA pricing. If that's not available, then as part of the RFP, we will use the lowest initial price submitted for the item by the vendors that respond. That pricing is also important because it will be used to determine the type of savings that we're going to document or present as a result of the reverse auction. So if we were able to find an actual price that we paid for the item, then at the end of the reverse auction, the savings will be a direct savings because we will have paid this price in the past, and this is the price that we're paying today, and we'll have direct savings. If we had to use a GSA or government cooperative pricing, then the savings will be reported as avoided costs because the GSA state contracting is a price that was available to the county, but because we were able to get a lower price as a result of the reverse auction, then that savings will be reported as an avoided cost. And finally, if the reverse auction's opening bid price was set based on the initial lowest price submitted by a vendor, then the savings reported as part of the reverse auction will be an extrapolated savings because when vendors submit their initial pricing as part of the RFP, they know that they will have an opportunity to present a more competitive price through the RFP process.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Miller.
Are any of these procedures different from how we're handling reverse auctions now?
These procedures are consistent with the reverse auctions that OPD has oversaw in the recent past.
And how many reverse auctions have we done to date?
We did reverse auctions for the sheriffs. Those were 3 months. So I believe there were 2 sets of reverse auctions for those. There was an IT-led IT equipment reverse auction, and then we did a reverse auction for the office supplies.
And how many are we anticipating doing between now and 7/31/2019?
At this point, I only have concrete knowledge of 2. There's one that Public Works would like to proceed with, And also, as was previously stated earlier on the agenda, there's one that IT would like to present. That is why when we indicated the time period, if there are others that are determined to be beneficial to the county, if we advertise before the ending of that period, we will proceed with those.
So, I know that at some point we had done some reverse auctions on some of the food products that we buy for the jail. Is that correct?
Yes, the two sheriffs.
Are we still doing that?
At this point, we did a regular bid for the most recent food items for the sheriffs that was on the agenda last week. And we're looking at doing a RFP for a longer time period. So our goal is to always look at what provides the counties the best opportunity for savings. So we've tried reverse auctions. We've tried a longer period in the monthly bids to do the 3 months. And now we think the market might be beneficial to do a longer RFP for food.
Okay.
Okay. Further? Mr. McAleer?
Mr. Chair, no questions, but just a comment really for the board. This does get us in compliance with some of our internal audit findings that Corey and his staff are currently working on. So this does get us in compliance related to Ohio Revised Code. And I think the biggest difference to Councilman Miller's question is this does put the reverse auction under OPD versus IT and maybe other departments. So this will go along with the other procurement processes where it's all housed under OPD.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you. Please look at items number 430 to 432 on the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions? Councilman Miller.
I noted in my questions prior to the meeting that there were 2 cases in which we are providing travel for non-county employees that we have partnership relationships with. And my question is as to whether we see this as pretty exceptional, or is this something that we anticipate doing from time to time for various reasons?
Hi, I'm Mary Beth from Public Safety, and if I can take them separately. The first one is that I'm going to talk about is the Camp Hope America. And the partner that's coming is Susan Weaver from Mental Health Services. We actually received a planning grant for Camp Hope, and one of the requirements of this grant is that we send the county employee and our implementing partner. Right now, our implementing partner for this, any of our children exposure contracts, our programs, is Mental Health Services, where Susan Weaver works. And Mental Health Services, they are doing our central intake and our assessment for both defending childhood and children who witness violence. So this is actually a grant condition. So as long as it's a condition of the grant, we can see it as being, we'd continue to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's not out of the ordinary for that to be a requirement for VOCA and VAWA type grants. Mm-hmm. The other is the Homeland Security Conference, and this is the travel for Zena Martinez, who is the director of the Fusion Center. And when we receive these grants are specifically to train people in counterterrorism. And so we will often have like the Fusion Center staff being trained off this grant, also hazmat personnel throughout the county, the USAR staff throughout the county. The one you're looking for is Zena Martinez to go to the New York City for the National Homeland Security Conference.
So,
are either of these general fund?
Pardon me?
Are either of these general fund?
None of these are general fund. These are all, these grants are specifically for these purposes.
So, bottom line, this is something that you anticipate might happen from time to time, particularly with grant funds.
Particularly for grants funds. It's part of the reason why we go out for these grant funds, is to be able to provide these types of training opportunities, and not because the local monies just aren't there for them.
Okay, right.
Thanks. Any other questions on any of the consent agenda items? Seeing none, I move to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda items are approved, and we have two mission critical.
So we have two mission critical items under the printed agenda. There is a mission critical item, item BC 2018-433, Sheriff's Department, recommending an award on requisition 43058 to Alliance Healthcare Solutions LLC in the amount not to exceed $24,988 for staffing of temporary nurses at the Bedford Heights Jail Facility. And it's for the period July 3rd, 2018 through December 31st, 2018.
Good morning, Brandy Carney, Public Safety and Justice. This request is for nursing services. This contract would be used as a backup in the need for immediate nursing services. If this board recalls, the current mission critical contracts that came here prior to May 1st actually ends, and the money ends this week, and so there will no longer be money encumbered under that mission critical item. We don't anticipate an immediate need for this mission critical. So right now we have been able to hire some of our nurses over the last few weeks. So we don't anticipate an immediate need. However, in the case that, if we were to lose a number of nurses or something over the next few months, we are requesting that this be in place. I think it's important to note that there is currently a bid out that's out right now that will be a permanent contract. That contract will go through the end of 2019, and so that will be the formal bid process of selecting a vendor and having this contract in place. And so again, this is just an immediate need and immediate service that for the interim period.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Miller.
Do we have similar contracts for other facilities like the main jail or Euclid, or is this the only one where we have this?
So this nursing contract would be available for the main jail for Euclid or Bedford. It's inclusive of any of the locations, the backup nursing services.
So the item says it's for $24,988 for temporary nurses at the Bedford Heights Jail Facility. So should it actually read more general than that?
I apologize. Go ahead. Sorry.
Basically, it's for the Bedford Heights facility, because their initial mission critical was just so we could get inmates out at the Bedford Heights facility. But this mission critical, we would still be using these nurses at Bedford Heights. We're going to put a couple of our veteran nurses out there, and then if we fall short, we would bring in some more and we'd use them at Bedford Heights. But if necessary, this would be able to cover any facility. But the plan is to put maybe 2 veteran nurses out there, and again, if we fall short, then we would put maybe 2 of these mission critical nurses, or even once the full agency contract is in place, agency nurses at Bedford or at Euclid. Does that answer your question?
So the question is, should it be worded more broadly?
The other 2 locations on the item.
Probably, yes, and I apologize for that. This was done rather quickly. But if you would like the wording, I don't know, I'd have to work with, to expand the language.
Nurses around, but I think it would be cleaner to put it in.
And honestly, I think that some of the language was used because of the first mission critical and the time-sensitive nature, but I would recommend if we can do an amendment to the agenda today and also include Euclid or the main jail for that purpose for the interim period. And I apologize for that error.
Okay, I move to amend today's agenda to consider the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Are there questions on the item as amended? Yes. Councilwoman Baker.
Just if I heard you correctly, this is just a safety gap.
That's correct.
We have a contract right now that's out for bid,
Mm-hmm.
and that these these funds may not even be needed.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. McAleer?
Mr. Chair, just more of a comment. I just wanted to thank Brandy and Donna and you and discussions with the council president about this item and stuff. It's appreciative over the last couple of weeks. I think there's been a lot of good communication back and forth on this.
Great.
Thank you. That
Further
me calling
questions?
somebody? Someone's calling you. I was wondering.
Answer. Say who it is.
Agenda.
Okay, so I move to approve this item with the amended language. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is approved. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have one more mission critical.
Yes, we have one more mission critical. It's from the Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 43068 in the amount of $2,295 to Cleveland Door Controls, Inc., and it is for single swing automatic operator door replacement for the rear handicap door.
Good morning, Tom Pavage, Department of Public Works, requesting permission for this mission critical. The rec number is 43068. The dollar amount's $2,295. The vendor is Cleveland Door Controls. The service is the Board of Elections, the handicap door operator replacement. At the top of all doors, there's that box up there, but handicap doors, it's a lot more complicated. The one at the Board of Elections broke. We had to get that replaced immediately. It's required to meet ADA standards. That's the only handicap accessible door at that building, so we had to get that immediately replaced. So just requesting your permission.
Thank you. I move to amend the agenda to consider the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's amended. Any questions on the item? Councilwoman Baker.
Yes.
So, for example, if Cleveland Door Control was on the list that was put together and you needed this immediately and it fit within the price of what was allowed, would that have been done and would not have come
We
to
could
us?
have done that.
Could've done
Yeah, if we had the funds, we would have obviously used our, gauge if we're, those funds earlier, we're obviously going to monitor those.
Right.
We have to abide by those. So we would measure, this being $2,295. If we had that vendor, we probably would have. But I don't know if we've got the voucher spend that would warrant it to add them.
Going forward, we definitely will have enough money in the master contract that we can allocate. Right now, I kind of kept it pretty trim, so I would have probably done a mission critical no matter what, but starting in January when I have everything out, absolutely.
I just wondered that
Absolutely.
that's the way that's going to work.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Items approved.
Thank you.
Any other business?
No other business at this time,
Any public comment?
and no public comment.
I move to adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right.